After Fortnite changed how Storm is going to work, I said there was basically nothing they could change that would have a bigger impact on the game unless they maybe changed how like building and editing worked. Little did I know they were going to change one of the most core elements of Fortnite that we've had since the very beginning. They're removing the bus. Now you're probably thinking, oh, okay, so the bus is like turning into something else. No, they're completely changing how every game of Fortnite is going to start. Instead of jumping out of a battle bus, you're going to surf in on a surfboard through a tsunami. Now, that already sounds absolutely ridiculous, but when you realize what leakers are saying is it's going to change how every game starts because it's never going to be in the same spot. So instead of having bus passes where they go like, top to bottom or left to right and it's a little bit different, you can always still get to the POI you want to get to. You can still fly across the map. Apparently, leakers are saying with this new mechanic, there's going to be certain areas of the map that you just can't get to. You just can't fly to the other side of the map. Maybe the POI that you've been practicing, you just aren't able to get to, which is just absolutely insane, especially for competitive. That is where a lot of people are very concerned here. Now, I'm gonna have to break out the Fortnite.gg map and my painting skills here to try to kind of make you guys understand a few of the different ways that I think this could work, because leakers have said we're gonna surf in and there's gonna be certain areas of the map that we can't get to every game, but they don't seem to know exactly how it's gonna work. And there's been a lot of theories. I want to go through some of the main ones because I actually don't hate this as much as what a lot of other people seem to. So assuming that it's a tsunami, so it's going to spawn in the water, one of the theories is that we're going to have a circular tsunami around the map like this, and then you'll have to spawn in different points around the map. You could spawn here one game, and not everyone will always spawn at the same point, which means that you wouldn't be able to travel all the way across the map to the other POIs, or even if you could, someone else would already be there because this person would have priority. That's one way that this could work. Now, it doesn't technically have to be a water tsunami, and I'll cover that in a second. So another theory is there's going to be multiple tsunamis per game. So maybe there's like one wave here and a bunch of people spawn going this direction, and then there's one here which sends you in this direction. And because of that, you wouldn't actually be able to get to certain areas depending on the tsunami you spawn into. So this is obviously a gigantic change for the game. Now, the reason why I say it doesn't have to technically be a water tsunami, despite obviously tsunamis are water, is because we have actually seen leaked images of what the wave's gonna look like, and it's very clearly made of like stuff. It's kind of like cosmic materials. Probably something to do with a 0 point, honestly, following the storyline. So it doesn't have to technically be on the edge of the map. It could technically be a circle in the middle of the map. We don't actually know yet, but it kind of gives you an idea of how this is going to change the game and why people are freaking out. Now, before you panic too hard, if you're absolutely hating the idea of this, I think it's going to be temporary, and I have a few reasons for this. Firstly, if we go back to the images and the stuff that got leaked from the early access, remember how we saw one of the people get battle bus parts, and we're kind of like, why are we getting parts of the battle bus? I think it could potentially be to fix the battle bus. So I'm guessing something's going to happen in the event where the battle bus is going to get broken, and then we're going to go around the map collecting parts to fix it. So eventually we're going to go back to dropping in normally on the battle bus. This makes sense. And also when you think about it, Fortnite loves making money. They love selling things. They've basically sold everything. We now have pets, we have shoes, and one of the two main things we have is gliders, and we also have trails for when you fly in. And yes, they could still have launch pads, but presumably they're gonna want to not scam everyone who's collected gliders throughout the years, because you only get to use them in some seasons with a specific item. I just don't see them completely removing flying into the game. So I think this might be a change that's only going to affect the game maybe throughout December, maybe then coming into January and the proper tournaments in the new year, they'll have it fixed and it'll go back to normal. That's just my theory though. Now, I do need to point this out though, and I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me, especially competitive players, especially pros. I don't absolutely hate this change for competitive, even if it was a long-term change. I suggested something like this way back in Chapter 2 for a few reasons. Yes, you will be missing out on those super exciting moments of like, Game 12, Pete lands on Poyo, and at LAN when we had, Queasy land on Cammy. Those moments were extremely exciting and they were really, really fun. But a lot of the main issues that come out of competitive that a lot of people don't like right now are stemming from players getting set drops every single game and how there's kind of like a hierarchy to that. So the same pros do well in every single tournament, and yes, it's because they are phenomenal players, but also it's because they get the best drop spots, which makes it really, really hard for up-and-coming players to dominate. It's why you've seen a lot of really good players throughout the years who just randomly get contested in every tournament. Mr. Savage, Malabuka struggles sometimes, they get an uncontested drop and they absolutely pop off. And while there is a lot of skill in getting uncontested drops, it is also a lot of politics, and it's often quite a lot of stuff that happens outside of the game. It's a lot of posturing on social media. there is usually an element of, you know, coercion going on there as well. And there's a bit of teaming. There's always DMs going back and forth between pros. It's not great for the game potentially. It's kind of how the game's always been. And I haven't really thought of a lot of ways to stop it other than situations like this. Also, teaming and surge trading, that's always such a big issue because you know who the teams are at the POIs around you. You drop next to them all the time. A lot of pros DM each other. They rotate in similar ways. They know who's who, so they don't fight certain teams. There is a lot of collusion and teaming, and a lot of that comes out of players going the same drops every time. Not to mention, if pros had to learn every POI on the map, they had to learn every single rotate depending on where zones go from each POI, I think it could add a massive skill gap to the game. So I've seen a lot of pro players, a lot of comp people coming out and saying this change is terrible. It's awful for the game. I think it could actually be good for the game. You could just say I'm being optimistic, and honestly, it could be terrible. It could be executed awfully, and this is the change that kills Fortnite. But at this point, as you guys have probably seen from my videos, I'm just choosing to be optimistic. I'm trying to see the best out of it. Fortnite clearly know what they're doing. It's very easy to try to crap all over Fortnite and say they're bad devs, but I'm still in love with this game like I was day one when I first played it 8 years ago. The fact they've kept people engaged for 8 years, and there's been so many changes that we've said would kill the game that are now staples that are amazing. Mantling, sprinting, sliding, so many things that we said were terrible ideas that I would say we ended up being wrong on. They've been amazing. So I'm giving Fortnite benefit of the doubt here. The more I think about this, I don't absolutely hate it. A lot of people are comparing it to Apex competitive, which is a little bit confusing to me because if you don't know how Apex competitive works, they have a draft system where you get given a specific drop, but the map does change throughout tournaments, so you have to learn multiple drops. But I wouldn't say that's very similar to this. Fortnite would be pretty much the first Battle Royale esport doing something like this. But like I said, it might not even be in tournaments. And even if it is in tournaments, it might only be in for the start of the chapter. And it might be fixed by the time FNCS and the proper tournaments come around. Speaking of tournaments, we have another potential tournament leak. And this one coming via Boop on Twitter because he got Fortnite Competitive to reply to him again. He said, just tell me what tournament you're most excited about that we might not know about yet. Not FNCS. And Fortnite Competitive responded with something unreal winky emoji. Now, that has me excited for a few reasons. Firstly, because Fortnite Competitive has taken the time to actually reply to this and they've mentioned the Unreal tournaments, which I'm guessing is ranked tournaments, I hope that means we're getting proper ranked tournaments as part of Rank 2.0. I hope it's not just a skin cup or something crappy. I don't think Fortnite Competitive would, you know, pick this out as their exciting thing if it was just rank cups. They know a lot of people, especially, you know, top tier competitors, people that follow the comp scene like Boop, wouldn't really care about rank cups. But if we're going to get proper tournaments that you have to get Unreal to play in, and it's harder to get Unreal, those are the kind of things that could save rank. They're the kind of things that Rank 2.0 needs to succeed. Like a tournament that you only get to if you're Unreal, and it's really difficult to get Unreal, which keeps people grinding throughout the season to then play in this tournament. That would be phenomenal. A lot of people have talked about what they could do with Rank 2.0 to fix it, and one of the only things I can see them doing is proper rewards. There needs to be a reason to grind ranked. People talk about bringing back Arena, doing this with the points, doing this and that. Unless there is a reason to care about getting a high rank, no one is going to care. Fortnite is a game that over the years, competitive has been taken seriously in tournaments, but ranked, no one's ever cared about. Even in Arena, people didn't really care that much if you got Champions Division. So we need proper rewards, and an Unreal tournament would be amazing. I'm sorry my voice is sounding so cooked in this video. I promise I'm starting to feel better, but man, I'm struggling over here. Something else I would love to see them add to ranked, which I heard in my chat suggested today, which could be amazing, is some kind of like a store that you need to get to a certain rank, and then once you get wins at that rank, you unlock some kind of a currency that you can then buy cosmetics with. People have always talked about giving out V-Bucks for winning games in ranked, and well, I think that could technically kind of work. It's a bit of a band-aid fix. If they did some kind of a system where you were getting wins at a certain rank, got you some kind of like crowns or currencies that you then unlock a store to go and buy from, that could be phenomenal. That could be another fantastic change they could bring out in conjunction with these tournaments to really reward actually trying to get the higher ranks. Fortnite, please cook with Rank 2.0. I am also out here hoping that Fortnite's going to cook with this season in general because it is a long season. FNBR Intel tweeting out today that the season will end on March 1st. So from November 29th to March 1st, that's over 3 months long. Now, that's not that crazy when you compare it back to like Chapter 2, Season 2 and 3, where we had like, you know, ridiculously long seasons, but we've had seasons these days that last like 10 weeks or 11 weeks, and that's not even 3 months. So this is going to be a pretty long season in general, but it's kind of standard when it comes to the Christmas seasons because you have that kind of awkward, month before Christmas. Then they go on their break for 2 weeks. Then they come back and start doing things. And if you only had a 10-week season, then the season's basically over by the time anything actually happens. So I don't think it's going to feel necessarily super long because of that Christmas break, but I just hope the meta's good, because if it's not, it might start to drag towards the end.